Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the speakers. Thank you for sharing a lot of your knowledge and background on fulfillment. So I was asked to list about 5 questions here, and given that we have enough time, I'll try to go through them. My first question is, so the Philippines, 7,000 islands, 90% of the population is still socioeconomically DE. A friend once told me that for certain items, it's actually cheaper to get a Cebu Pacific ticket, fly to the area where you wanted to deliver the item, versus actually sending the item through a logistics company. What are the real-world challenges that the Philippines faces when it comes to logistics and fulfillment? And how do we overcome them, and what are the solutions in sight, given that the e-commerce industry is such a young market that's really ready to break out?
Yeah, well, for us, that's true that maybe in some cases it would be cheaper to take a specific flight and deliver it yourself. With Xend, we've tried to focus on the smaller items. Anything that would fit into our pouch. So the majority of our market are females, so they would be selling a lot of clothing, a lot of accessories, maybe some gadgets and stuff like that. So yeah, that's not really an issue for us. It's definitely cheaper to go through a courier company with the stuff that we ship. As for the challenges that we see is, yeah, but it does get expensive when you ship to the provinces, whether it's something small or something big. So something that we're trying to do is we're trying to, right now we're not nationwide. We do partner with other courier companies to help us deliver nationwide. Something that we're trying to do to help, bring the cost down is to expand ourselves. That's something that we're maybe planning to do sometime this year. And according to the items that we ship, if we, maybe 15 major cities that we ship to, if we were able to cover that, that would cover 80% of the country in terms of e-commerce shipments that go through us. And the other 20% are the other hundreds or thousands of other cities. So we're going to try to focus on the key cities for us.
Yeah, we really acknowledge the challenges that this is being presented to us. Okay, so I'll tell you a story about how we set up a one Air 21 station in Marawi. So we had a hard time setting up this station because the people living in Marawi are so used into going into Iligan City for their R&R. So they said, so why are we going to use your company when we will lose the opportunity to do R&R in Iligan City? So we had to do a lot of education and a lot of explanation to them that it's much cheaper if you go ship your shipment via Air 21 than go to Iligan City and then ride a plane and then go to Manila, something like that. So it takes a lot of education on the part of Air 21 to do that. And it's been a real challenge for us in the past. But we've been pretty successful in that one, and that story has been documented, and it's been one of the success stories right there in Mindanao.
Okay, I agree with how you led your question, but I think it depends upon the merchandise. I mean, if it's a big item, I guess it is worth it to buy a plane ticket and ship the items yourself. But when it comes to our experience at Multiply, most of our items are quite small, and thus the shipping is not really that expensive. So even if, think about it, even if you're buying a laptop online or a computer, it's still somewhat manageable. So I guess it just becomes more expensive as people attempt, especially like retail companies attempting to send over refrigerators and beds through provinces, that's where it becomes expensive. And I believe the practice for on retail giants is to really centralize their operations in one hub. So even if, for example, the buyer is from Davao, they will still have to ship it all the way from their warehouse in Metro Manila. So what happens is you just go to the store and just pay for the shipping intercity.
Hello. Well, I actually think it's pretty good here because if you look at the U.S., you know, they got like all sorts of charges to buy. Everything's like 2-day delivery, 3-day delivery. If you want next day delivery, you'll have to pay X amount. Here, wala yun. It's not non-existent. Diba? It's actually pretty much worth it to send to the province. I mean, the price difference between a Metro Manila shipment and a province shipment is not so much. So I think it's really good. I even think it's better. Plus, where do you see couriers who deliver things without zip codes? Dito lang, di ba? Only in the Philippines. And most of the stuff you're going to sell anyway are not so big. And it really depends because I also have big shipments, my wholesale shipments to provinces. So, you know, the solution's not a box solution. Kasi if you do a delivery, for example, for a box of flowers, 1 dozen, I use a courier. If I do a delivery for a huge 20 dozen for a florist, I'll use a freight forwarder. So it becomes cheaper. And I think people will understand if you're going to ship a refrigerator, I'm sure it's not next day delivery, diba? You don't need to use FedEx to do that, diba? So, you know, if you do the combination, we're pretty good at it. And considering we have 7,100 islands, and some addresses are just streets, with names of people, no number, we're really good. I mean, we're really good. We can ship to you know, tiny islands na barrio lang tsaka pangalan ng tao. It's all right. It happens a lot. So I think we're better off in some ways. Maybe just the automation, diba?
Okay. So I guess listening to some of your sharing depends on really the item. Which sort of leads me to the second question. If you look at the cost of fulfillment as a percentage of your selling price, what would that number look like? And in comparison to maybe other markets, how far off are we? Because if you're a merchant, if you're a physical world merchant, the decision to move online is a decision whether would it be more worth it for me to pay rental cost plus the percentage to the mall versus the cost of packaging, insurance, fulfillment, and so on and so forth related to fulfillment. It's a question of which ultimately gives me the better margin. Maybe one can argue digital gives you greater reach than a single physical space. But given our low volumes today, what does fulfillment as a percentage of your selling price look like? How does it impact your margin?
Well, you know, we're not a marketplace. I mean, we're pure logistics. So, you know, I think, you know, from the marketplace's point of view, I think that, you know, shipping is pretty cheap here. You know, when you compare it to other countries, like in the U.S., right? Like I think what Dustin was saying, you know, the standard is really next day, maybe 2 days, 3 days, but in the U.S. you have to pay a premium for next day, and you know, next day would be maybe $20 or something. Well, next day here is a few dollars. So I think that, I mean, coming from our the logistics point of view, you know, it's really affordable. Coming from the marketplace's point of view, yeah, I think it's affordable, so I don't think it's really that big of an issue. I don't know, maybe the other people have other thoughts.
To add a little context to the question, no, I've noticed some online retailers, they will waive shipping costs if the total basket size, for example, is below 1,000 pesos. But then the shipping cost becomes a not so, I mean, it's not a small number anymore once you exceed certain tiers. So I'm just curious what the dynamics are. And I guess these merchants factor the cost of fulfillment into their pricing?
Okay. Actually, we do offer tiered pricing for targeted clients. So if you are big volume shipper, so you get a lot of discounts. So, but if you're just small player, we do the published rate. But I think we like to believe that shipping is just a small part of the fulfillment. The entire manufacturing cost of is much greater. The revenue that you will derive from out of the marketing your product is much more compared to the shipping cost that you will incur. So we in Air 21 we partner with our clients to make sure that the headaches inherent in the delivery and fulfilling of the order are removed from their end. So just like what Dustin said, they outsource to companies like us because they don't want to deal anymore with the transportation side, the logistics side.
Yeah, coming from a marketplace experience, the shipping, the fulfillment side does account for a cost, but it really depends. And this is what we tell our merchants is, you just have to be selective of what you're going to sell because the margins can vary. If you're selling electronics, for example, there's small margins there. But if you're selling baby stuff, there are more margins there. Thus, the cost of fulfillment is way lower. But like what Teresa and Bjorn has mentioned, the cost of shipping in the Philippines is really somewhat manageable. I'm not saying it's cheap, but it's manageable for anybody who wants to do an online business.
I think the shipping costs comparatively to other countries are cheap, but the thing is, not all products are meant to be online. I mean, if you're gonna ship a pack of cigarettes, it's gonna cost as much to ship it as the cigarettes themselves. I happen to think we have sort of like a formula that we use. We don't sell products below 400 because the shipping would comprise too much of a part of the product. So we try to stay above that. I happen to believe that anything below that should be retailed in a store. So it really depends on your product. So that it's just not everything can be sold online. If you're selling something that's readily available in the grocery, and then they see your shipping costs, which it just doesn't make sense. So I guess first you have to have the product that can absorb the shipping cost.
Okay, next question probably won't apply too much to Dustin. Cash on delivery. I know that for a lot of online merchants, cash on delivery comprises a significant proportion of the total payout options. And I guess COD and fulfillment really go hand in hand. Just as you fulfill, then you collect. But at the same time, I've actually heard of really poor metrics when it comes to success rates when it comes to COD. Can you guys share with me your experience around that? And does it still make sense given that such a significant percentage of the deliveries are actually rejected or aren't completed?
I'll go first. Yeah, well, I think COD has the potential to become a really major payment option. It's just finding the right way to do it. Yeah, that's true that the success rate is very low compared to, let's say, other payment options. The number one issue that we have when we deliver COD packages is that the buyer either says they didn't know that we were coming and they didn't realize that if they click that button that we would arrive with their item, or they would say, can you come back on another day when I have money? I don't have any money today. Come back on payday. So, I think what we're trying to experiment with right now is finding the right way to do COD, and I think it's a combination of maybe even calling the buyer and making sure that they're really serious, which could be on our side or could be on the marketplace side. But in our case, I think that if the marketplace or the website won't do it, I think it's best if we do it. If we really want COD to become a major payment option, we have to do something. And I think I think this year we'll figure out that the right way to do it. We're still experimenting. We're doing a lot of COD. COD is very popular, but it's just really educating the buyers of what it is and exactly what happens when you click that button.
Okay, in the case of Air 21, we have big clients that requires us to accept payment on COD. So there is a big quarrel now between operations and sales because, it's very challenging when you do a COD because there's a potential fraud that might happen not only on the payment side but also on the courier side. So we still have to do a lot of feedback mechanism in order to receive information that the payment is already on hand. So we've introduced a new system called the automated collection system, which requires the courier to capture the payment information either through a POS terminal that they have or through acceptance of cash, and then we transmit it again via GPRS to our back-end system, and that it gets saved in our database. So that's one of the monitoring tools that we use. But aside from that, we also make sure that the couriers have enough bond insurance so that everything will be covered in case they run with the money. Because that's the potential problem that you have whenever you do a COD transaction.
Yes, as for Multiply, we don't offer COD yet, but we are considering it. But yes, we've heard in the industry that the fulfillment rate or the completion rate for COD is very low because there are so many issues around it. It could also be like a buyer preference. They see the item, they don't like it, it doesn't fit. So it becomes, there's a return cost, COD. And since we're a marketplace, our merchants are not yet ready to accept that return cost. But I think moving forward, given the technology that's coming about, it's not just cash on delivery. It could also be payment on delivery, where you have mobile POSs, where you can have your logistics partner just carry around an MPOS that can accept credit and debit, and then that, I guess, eliminates the fact that there are some buyers where they'll say they don't have cash, they haven't withdrawn, you can just swipe. So I think for a marketplace player like us, I think it's better for us to implement payment on demand when the time comes rather than cash, because we are a marketplace and we don't hold the inventory ourselves.
Okay. So unless Dustin's customers of flowers, are the recipients pay for the service?
No, actually, we completely discourage it. No,
You're not right.
It's really much easier for us to invest in encouraging people to have debit cards, Visa, MasterCard branded debit cards. It's cheaper for us to encourage that than to bring out roll out logistics that'll collect cash. That's like backwards. We're e-commerce nga, di ba? We're supposed to move forward.
Okay. What about online retailers here looking to expand their market beyond the Philippines? What does our fulfillment infrastructure look like if we want to suddenly sell to the region or even sell outside of the region, beyond the region? Can we competitively really price our products given the cost of international shipping and fulfillment?
Well, yeah. Well, for us, we actually when we first started in 2004, we were purely export. The local e-commerce market was pretty much non-existent in 2004. So it was purely export. For the first 2-3 years, we were purely export. So we've been doing export longer than domestic delivery. And if a marketplace does decide to go venture out into selling to other countries, especially Southeast Asia, the shipping costs are high. But if you're willing, within Southeast Asia, I think the delivery time can be within a week, and the shipping costs are still bearable. So I don't think it's not that big of an issue. There are methods of shipping to other countries, definitely.
Air 21 is a partner of FedEx for a very long time now. And we do a lot of import clearances on behalf of shippers who would want to ship their products to the Philippines. So we'd like to think that we are an expert on that. But again, the shipping cost is another issue because FedEx really is expensive compared to Air 21. But if we have a common clientele, so for FedEx and Air 21, so we give a lot of discounts, especially for these clients. But mostly, most of the clients of FedEx are not into retail. They're into corporate accounts. So they are manufacturing abroad and they're shipping their products here, or we do exports like Xend. So it's not much an issue for us, that one.
Yeah, I think online cross-border fulfillment really depends on the volume as well to make it worthwhile to pay for the shipping. But I think a better idea moving forward is like if the online commerce industry could like work with the government and create like an online PEZA zone for online transactions. I think that would be best, where the government would encourage subsidies for entrepreneurs who do have active business in the region.
We tried it several times. It's really difficult. I think unless you have a product that people want, that's not available in that country, we can't be competitive when you move out. But we keep on trying. Every year, we have this certain effort to try and do that. But if anything comes out of it, I'll let you guys know. But right now, it's difficult.
Okay. So last question, just to manage time. The advent of mobile technology, smartphones are starting to proliferate. Are there opportunities from a fulfillment perspective to harness mobile, this proliferation of the cell phone, either as a way to more efficiently fulfill the product or potentially reduce, let's say, COD's failure rates or what have you? And then I guess in relation to that, with the operators introducing location-based services sometime in the future, there are opportunities around contextual demand capture. Is there any innovation or thought that your groups have put into this, and how do you plan to harness this?
Yeah, well, for us, tech is really part of our DNA. So, we have our own programmers, in-house programmers. We're developing solutions all the time. All of our systems are developed in-house, and we have a lot going on for this year. We have, especially on the mobile side, we have a lot that's going on that affects the back end and also that's customer facing. So 2013 is going to be pretty big for us in terms of technology. I can't really say much, but it's more about being real time and just becoming even more convenient for us. So 2013 is going to be big for us.
Okay, just like what I presented a while ago, our corporate strategy is to use information technology as a driver in providing efficient services to our clients. So we've been doing this mobile application for the last 3 years now. We're offering it on Android and iPhone. And also we do a lot of applications on mobile devices for our scanners. And just recently, we acquired a business intelligence and data warehouse machine so that we could analyze our market share and the trends that and forecasts that we intend to gain from this from the wealth of knowledge that from the wealth of data that we have harnessed throughout the year. So We are now moving 170,000 shipments a day, a good portion of which involves transactions of e-commerce industry. So we'd like to know what else we can do for the e-commerce industry. So we bought these sophisticated machines to help us analyze, slice, and dice our valuable information that is contained in our database.
Okay. For marketplace players as well, I think in terms of fulfillment, the mobile advantage is really more on the tracking side, for both merchants and sellers. But ultimately, mobile as an enabler, I think it's more on the reach and discovery of items, because everybody is now connected. So for merchants, it's going to be very important for them to be able to showcase their items outside of the desktop experience. So that's it. And another one would be, to enable our merchants who still do meetups, to enable them with a device that can swipe cards with the Multiply platform on their phones.
I agree. I think it's more of the, when you have stuff in your mobile device, even a simple thing like email. For example, once the items are shipped, if they're able to be notified by email, they see it instantly. They can come home and get it, type thing. So it doesn't have to be complicated. I don't even think we need to think very difficult, as long as it's there. If we're able to inform them that items are shipped, items are arriving, items are late, things like that. I think it's very natural. Yung sa amin nakikita namin is a lot of the orders is increasingly are mobile na. It's used with a mobile browser. So that would be either the iPhone, iPad, or some Galaxy Tab or a Galaxy phone. I think it's that information. So I don't think we need to overthink the apps. Not really. We just need to do it well. Yung information dissemination every step of the way. For example, when it's shipped, when it's coming, when it's late. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for sharing.